Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Varsity Club Lacrosse podcast presented by Focus on the Field. Now, Focus on the Field is an administrative service provider focused on youth sports organizations. They offer a fully outsourced turnkey solution to the administrative burden facing administrators, coaches, and volunteers. They offer multiple services through administration, communication, registration, and technology. The Focus on the Field team has extensive experience in youth services and parent engagement with a deep understanding of the nuance involved in driving a positive experience. This, combined with years of industry knowledge in youth sports, has enabled Focus on the Field to become the modern solution in optimizing youth sports administration. All right, now back to the episode. Hello and welcome to the Varsity Club Lacrosse podcast, your go-to source for all things club lacrosse. On today's episode, we're going to discuss the newest MCLA news. We have an interview with two Concordia Irvine players and current MCLA D1 champions, Cloutier and Cade Poe. And we're going to finish our last segment up with our D1 top 25 going into the season. All right, Sam, how's it going, man?
If I'm going to be honest, Brian, I got two things here. One, pardon my French, but I got to say, fuck all those people who think they're my friends and my family, who've been listening to this podcast and haven't told me that I start every sentence with or that's just not cool of those people. I've been struggling. I tried to listen to the last podcast and it was tough. So I'm trying here. Dude, and there's the
there it is.
Second one.
Wow.
Another thing. I'm going crazy. Another thing, I got NBA 2K24 today. I've been waiting for so long. It's been downloading forever. It's finally done. I'm going to hop on there after we get done recording this. But I'm not very excited to play because 2Ks are bad. It's like the FIFAs, it's like the Maddens, they don't really try. So I'm going to be playing that game. I'm going to be really frustrated for this weekend, but we're going to grind through it and it's going to be all right.
I mean, the real question is, I'm doing good, but now I'm pissed off at 2K because why isn't there a 2K lacrosse?
Dude, they tried to make Casey Powell had like maybe 4 or 5 games, and then they did another thing, and it's just not.
Yeah, back in like 2012 or something, there was an old school game on the Xbox 360. I remember that. That was really fun to play, but man, they're just not doing it for us.
One day.
Yeah, hopefully with the PLL taking off, hopefully one day we'll be able to get a PLL game. I feel like that'd be really fun to do.
Yeah, those Casey Powell games were fun, but the mechanics and like going through, it's just not the same as playing a game. It's just really not.
Yeah. But I mean, I've been good. Personal life is good. I'm a little bit sick, so if you hear me being a little bit groggy, blame my girlfriend. Just kidding. Nah, it's just been flu season out in LA. I think there's just sickness that a lot of people are getting, but hopefully it will improve. And I just became an ISSA personal trainer, so fully certified. Super pumped about it. Can't wait to help other people get into shape and hopefully get myself into shape in the process too.
That's the most important thing.
Right. But all right, Sam.
Yeah, we'll go into some
talk
news.
About the news. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You already know the drill.
Yeah. So we've got a couple things here, and then another one I'm just going to throw in that we'll talk about. For the first one, we've got 2 sponsors who have been sponsoring the MCLA for, I don't know the actual date, but maybe 4 years now. They are Pearl and Warrior. And Pearl is this official sponsor of the MCLA yet again, and they will be sponsoring the goalie of the week. So that gives them, I think, a goalie head or a shaft, and then they give that shout out for them on the MCLA page. And then we've got Warrior doing player of the week. So the same thing, they'll get a head and then also that spotlight, which I think is phenomenal for the MCLA, partnering with those bigger named lacrosse companies and then throwing them up on the MCLA website for everyone to see. They get a big, nice picture of themselves with holding their award. then they get a little description about it, I think is really awesome. You know, it's one of those things we're trying to do for players is put them into that spotlight. And I think this is a really good opportunity for people as well. And then we've got a little bit bigger news. We got another PLL player coming in to coach the MCLA, Andrew Newbold, who's played professional since 2019, playing for teams like the Outlaws, Atlas, and most recently the Cannons. And he's been announced as a head coach for San Diego for this upcoming year. So huge shout out to him, and thank you for coming into the MCLA. That now gives us 3 PLL players who are coaching the MCLA: Kevin Rogers at Temple, Kyle Hartzell at Texas, and now Andrew Newbold at San Diego. So just, I mean, pretty awesome that some of the top talent in the world is coming to want to coach our measly little club league. So I'm just really excited that, you know, those teams will get amazing coaching and experiences and just being able to learn from those guys. I think anybody would love to have. Like I had my senior year, our coach Peter Harris was friends with our coach at the time. Is friends with Mikey Schlosser, who plays in the PLL, and he came and taught us for I think a day, and it was amazing for everyone just that experience being like, oh my god, like PLL player just came to help us out type thing. So I think having that your whole season for a few seasons, you know, is really awesome for them, and
Yeah.
awesome for those PLL players coming in.
Yeah, they're starting to know where the true top talent really is. So
Yeah, they're joining the world's greatest league now. I mean, come on.
No,
And
that's
then
really awesome to see.
yeah,
For sure.
and then last one, it's just not really any news, but I saw Varsity Club Lacrosse retweeted some Twitter page, and it was talking about replaying the Concordia Irvine Virginia Tech Championship. And while I didn't look at it or check to see, I figured I was going to have to pay some type of money to watch it. And I just kind of wanted to bring up the conversation of paying for streams and not paying for streams. I think there's a lot of teams that use funky websites and whatnot because that's probably what they have to do. But I'm not going to go pay to watch anybody. Like I didn't even pay for MCLA championships. I feel like maybe I could have, but it's just, I'm not really inclined to pay for a club lacrosse stream. And while I understand that that makes the teams money, that makes the league money, whatnot, I think a better alternative is what a lot of teams have been trying to get into is YouTube, starting that YouTube page and at least having that avenue for people to go to look at. I think it's also like a website type thing, you know, having somewhere that teams can go to look at your stuff other than social media is, I feel like, very beneficial for those programs. So, I mean, I'm not big into paying for it, but I totally understand if you've got to do it. But I think currently, if you're out there as an MCLA team and you aren't sure of a way of how to stream certain games or whatnot, I think looking into a YouTube account and creating that. And I think if you have questions, you can absolutely reach out to us. But there's also a bunch of teams that have done that, and you can look into that and go to those teams and ask, you know, how did you guys start this? How did you get this going? What do I need to get to prepare for this? Because then that just brings so many other people to watch you guys play and know how you guys move. I think there's a guy who does not all, but a lot of the California games, especially at the Pac-12 shootout at UCLA. He films all of those games. He's kind of got a crew going on, and they put those on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of people here have watched those. And I think that's just a great way to kind of get your team out there. So if you haven't already done that, I think you should look into it.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult thing to go about because, you know, like we want teams to be able to profit and have funds to be able to go do like to have less expenses like traveling and et cetera or equipment. But it's also you kind of want to spread the word of the MCLA and to show more people what you guys are doing. I know Purdue Lacrosse, they have a YouTube stream, and sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes wherever they're at, it's just going to be on someone's phone doing a live stream, and they're not really paying attention, or they have it on a tripod, and they don't have good connection. So I think it's a difficult conversation to have when like the schools don't really back up the teams to begin with. So it's hard to have a good setup. You would need a social media person Hopefully it's not a player because they will be playing in the game. But there's definitely ways to make it work, whether it's having another student who isn't associated with the team be kind of like an intern and giving them some merch and just letting them get some experience by doing a live broadcast of it and having their own commentary. I'm sure that there are plenty of students who would love to have that on their resume. So it's definitely a toss-up. I feel like most teams should be able to live stream it for free just because, I mean, it's like
I mean,
I would,
how much are they really making from the streams if it's like
right.
$10? How many people are buying that? So
Yeah.
I feel like though that has been a good way for people to start doing it. I feel like YouTube has just become a thing this year, and maybe teams have already been doing these streams in the past.
Mhm.
But I think it's about time we start making it accessible for everyone, because then I just feel like it closes teams off to certain people and whatnot, like your family. So
Right. And maybe we're just biased because we're on a free platform.
absolutely. Yeah, that might be it.
So
yeah.
But all right, that is it for our news roundup. Up next, we have our interview with two Concordia players, Jake Cloutier and Cade Poe. Okay, we now welcome on to Concordia Irvine guest, senior Jake Cloutier, who won the Go Decoraw Award in 2022, two-time scholar athlete, two-time first-team all-conference defender in 2022 and 2023, a third and second-team All-American in 2022 and 2023, and he was on the 2023 MCLA All-Tournament team, who has 115 career GBs, 7 goals, and 2 assists. And we also have senior Cade Poe, who is a two-time scholar athlete, 2022 and 2023 Defensive Player of the Year, two-time first-team All-Conference face-off specialist in 2022 and 2023, a second and first-team All-America face-off specialist in 2022 and 2023, was also on the 2023 MCLA All-Tournament team, and he has won plenty of face-offs, winning 564 and only losing 260 with 389 career GBs, 3 goals, and 4 assists. Holy shit, guys. You guys have so many accolades.
That is just comical. Jesus.
Well, welcome on to the show. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate this. Great opportunity to, kind of share our story, share what we go through on a daily basis, but we're glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, well, first of all, congratulations for winning the Natty this past year. You guys made MCLA D1 history by being the lowest seed, the 7th seed, to win the whole thing. How did it feel to win?
Man, it was just kind of surreal, I mean, I feel like in 2022, we had the same kind of talent, if not more talent, and we just weren't able to get it done. We had way more wins in 2022, and then 2023 was kind of a roller coaster. We had some big losses, some losses that we shouldn't have had, and then kind of brought it all together. That last week of practice going into nationals, I'm not gonna lie, it was bad. Like, coach was looking at us, like, you better be saving it for nationals, and we did. So.
No, yeah, for sure. It was definitely cool to see how it all came together, at the end, because we started off our season really strong, against BYU. I don't remember what they were ranked at the time, but really high competitor. I think they were ranked number 3 at the time, and we came out and we beat them, and so we started the season really strong. And then immediately after that, that loss to Cal, we're a little disappointed in ourselves. Didn't perform as we wanted to. And like Cade said, something that really defined our season was we kind of experienced a little bit of everything. We had some big wins, we had some tough losses, we had some close losses. 1 goal, 2 goal losses, 1 goal, 2 goal wins. We started off where we had to defend our lead, and then like in the national championship, starting out behind, and we had to, regain. So it was kind of just a big collaboration of everyone, coming together in a group effort that really helped us to, catapult our last season with a big dub and taking home that national championship.
Right. So 3 of your 4 losses last year came by 1, 2, and 3 goals, and then your final loss coming in the conference championship to a really good Chapman team. So how was your team able to learn from those moments and use them to your advantage in the conference or in the MCLA championships?
Yeah, definitely. Our first loss against Cal, that really taught us that we can't take anyone for granted, because we just beat BYU, and they were a school that always gave us trouble. You know, in the year prior, we went to their place and we had an opportunity to close out, and we ended up losing a really close game to a really good squad that year. And so that first Cal loss, you know, we went into BYU and we were all high, you know, riding high on ourselves. We didn't really take that game too seriously, if we're being honest with ourselves. And so it really taught us that, you know, any team in the MCLA can be any given team on any given day. So it really taught us to really appreciate all the moments and opportunities that we're given, and to not take anything for granted, especially it being our last year in the MCLA, going to NCAA this year. It was our last chance to really make a splash in the league and end on a good note.
Yeah, it's a pretty good note to end on.
Yeah. No,
The whole thing. Yeah, so I feel like there's a recurring trend with teams that end up doing very well, is that they battle through adversity, and they sometimes have some games where they are down a lot and you guys just come back strong. And can you guys talk more about what do you think makes teams, you know, who do have a big deficit up front, you know, come back and truly believe and come back and win?
I mean, just kind of going through it, and it starts at practice, you know, starting with those drills. You know, you got two teams scrimmaging. Okay, we're going through a situation. You're down by 5, you're going against the backups, but you got to score 5 and they could still score 2. So it's kind of going through the situations at practice, and it starts there. And then when we get the games, it's kind of like been there, done that. And there's just like nothing.
Yeah, it also goes to really building relationships off the field, right? It's not just practice. It's not just, you know, seeing each other in classes or seeing each other at game day. It's like, it's your weekends, you know, what are you doing on your weekends? Are you spending time with the guys? Are you going out, having a good time, building those relationships? Because that's where really the talk and communication, especially on a defense, you got to really trust your brothers that are standing there next to you. And how can you expect to, you know, have a good relationship with someone if you're only seeing them at practice, you know? So it really goes to building those relationships on and off the field, and really putting the team first, and really emphasizing that throughout the whole season. Because if you put them on the back burner, then you're just going to get toasted in games.
That's what I think is so amazing about the MCLA. Obviously, I don't know what other leagues are like, but going from your lacrosse team and having those certain cliques within players, and you have those groups where people like to hang out with whoever, and then you go outside of that and it's like people want to hang out with whoever they can. It's like, yo, we're going out to the bars tonight. Who's coming? So I think that's so awesome. And you are absolutely right. I think that communication, especially, I play defense as well, so I understand that you have to be on the same page with those guys. So I totally agree.
No, yeah, and that's the nice thing too. You know, we go to a little small Christian school here or Lutheran school, my bad,
Sure.
here in Irvine. And, you know, we're kind of like, we were a real big sports school, and the lacrosse team is kind of like our frat. So, you know, we go play in all these, you know, giant schools like the Virginia Techs, where they have Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, UCLA, USC, you know, they got 40,000 students. You know, we're rolling up with, you know, 12,000 kids. So the recruiting classes, you know, can be a little different. So it's nice to know that when you're coming to a small campus like ours, smaller Lutheran college, that, you know, the 40 guys on the lacrosse team, that's our frat. We do everything together. We hang out together. Someone wants to go to the beach, everyone's getting that text in the group me. Everyone's getting that text in the band chat. You know, it's kind of like we're a brotherhood and a family, and really close, tight-knit group. And to be honest, when I'm walking around campus, you know, I see other students, I see people in my classes, you know, I'm cordial with them. But when it comes to hanging out and people who I want to hang out with, it's guys on the team. And that's something that we really done a really good job. And props to Jesse Foster, recruiting guys who want to be a part of a team and want to hang out with each other and want to, you know, build something together. And it's really a, you know, a testament over time, you know, from our going, you know, winning the D2 championship 2017 and bumping up to MCLA Division I, and then now winning it. Just kind of goes to show how much, you know, the program has advanced over the years.
Yeah, and going off of that, do you think, or I guess I should have asked or looked up before, but where are you guys both from? California, I'm assuming. Yeah, that was a tough question, huh, Brian? California, both you guys though?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the, I guess, important thing for you guys picking a school? And then what was the difference between Concordia Irvine and then those other California schools? Because a lot of MCLA teams have really good California teams. So what was just your decision making for that?
The biggest thing for me was, since we're a private school, they're allowed to give us athletic scholarship on top of academic. So the price was there. And for me, it's only 30 minutes from my house. So I just commute and it's easy.
Yeah, kind of going off that, the price the price was definitely something I was looking at because, you look to go to these, prestigious schools back east and, prices can get expensive. Even if you are getting academic scholarship or getting a portion of athletic scholarship, it's still upwards of 50 grand. So this school was definitely something that price point wise was definitely something I was looking towards. And then for my background, I went to a large middle school and then a smaller high school. And I kind of like that smaller aspect, smaller class size, more interaction with your teachers. And also it provided my parents with the ability to come to majority of my home games. I'm only like an hour and a half away. And so it was kind of one of those schools that was a perfect fit for me. The small school atmosphere, close to home. I can go back whenever I want to. And also, being able to afford it and coming out at a reasonable price.
Yeah, I feel the same way with that. I'm from Oregon in Eugene. I was about an hour and a half away, and my parents were at every game, and that was kind of a big factor as well. I wanted to be close to home, also not too close, but being able to get that college experience still. So totally.
Mm-hmm. Now, were you guys familiar with the MCLA at all before going to CIU, or was it just that they played lacrosse? Because I know personally for me, I didn't know Purdue had an MCLA team at all until I was basically a junior. So I'm wondering if you guys knew that before going into school.
I always knew Concordia University just from, like Instagram, social media, and from their like 2017 Division II National Championship. So I knew they were a legit program. I knew Jesse Foss through club lacrosse in California. He's a big face there. And then from La Costa Canyon, I knew of his name from all his championships there. So it was kind of always in, backdoor looking. I'm like, okay, like if my first pick doesn't work out, then I always have my option to go stay in California, stay home, and play top quality lacrosse.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite, total opposite for me. I never heard of Concordia before in my life, never heard of Jesse Foss. This whole kind of thing just kind of sprung upon me. I know when I was doing all my recruiting and all that stuff, going into I think it was my junior year, I broke my leg in high school. So I kind of missed the big recruiting window, when people go back east, play all those big tournaments. I'd done it years prior, and I was getting some looks, but missing that year kind of hurt me a little bit as far as the recruiting process goes. And so I just happened to, I always saw Jesse at all these different tournaments, no matter where it was, East Coast, West Coast, Southern California, Northern California, no matter where it was, I always saw him. And I was always wondering kind of who he was or what school he worked for, but I never really figured it out until I was at a tournament down in San Diego, and I was playing in the uncommitted all-star game there. And he just kind of bumped into each other after the game. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you weren't going anywhere. You should come check out our school." I came and checked it out and kind of just fell in love with the place. So.
Nice. And kind of going a little bit away from recruiting and everything, after winning the championship, what was that travel situation like? Were you flying? Were you busing? Kind of what I'm getting at is, at the airport, were you able to get some celebratory drinks? When you got back to campus, was it a big party? Was everyone aware that you guys had just won? You said 1,200 kids. I'm sure a lot of those people knew that you guys had just won the championship. And like you said, same for Oregon, lacrosse is a frat for us. And so were you guys able to fully enjoy that as, champions and having your whole college be on your back, basically?
I mean, it was kind of, dead when we got back to campus because we were actually out of school for a week.
Oh, sure.
Back and it's kind of okay, I'm just going to go home, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting. After the championship, we had to change our flight. So we changed it to that morning because we got rained out. We had to move up the game. So we changed our flights. We were flying out after the championship at 5 a.m. So it wasn't really much to do from, all the celebratory, pictures and all that stuff, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And it's I'm pooped, man. I want to go to bed. So that was kind of my experience, but I don't know about him.
No, yeah, definitely when we got back, the fact that majority of our school is already out. I think the only other team that was still here was softball because they were in there going regionals, super regionals, all that good stuff. But yeah, so coming back as a team, we definitely celebrated together, had one last hurrah before, everyone kind of went their own separate ways. But as far as the whole school being here was just kind of hard because we've already been out for school for a week and people are doing their own thing up for summer.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Sam and I, our teams were good enough to make it that far, so we couldn't even think about school not being in.
Seriously, man. Jeez, after that week you lose, it's like the best week ever, and you don't have any lacrosse for the first time. But I definitely would have loved to still be playing. Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, so after winning, do you guys, I know some people like to stay on campus for summer, whether they're taking classes. Do you guys have summer workouts, or is it more of like, since you guys kind of are your own community, you guys can just, you guys will hold each other accountable and continue to work out and make sure that you guys are still, doing wall ball and everything else?
It's kind of on our own. Like coach sends us the typical, summer strength program, whatnot. Kind of cookie cutter. A lot of us kind of stay self-accountable, go to our gym, do what we need. A lot of us play like pickup ball, like in the local areas. So I kind of stay on top of it. I coach a lot too, so I'm always kind of around the game during the summer. So it kind of just works out for me.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys too, they go home, and so it's not too many guys live in the area. I think maybe 5 or 10 guys live in the area, but we have a lot of out-of-state guys. So, like Cade was saying, Foss sends you, if you want to gain weight over the summer, he'll send you a weight gainer plan. If you want to lose some weight, he'll send you that. Keep in touch with you if you're one of those guys that, trying to find some field time, or, trying to accomplish something over the summer. Us captains will reach out, or, we'll definitely keep in contact and make sure you're staying on pace. But as far as mandatory, it's kind of just do what you need to do, so when you come back for the next year, you're ready to go.
And going off of that, kind of just tell us about the workload of the team during the year. I know you guys started as MCLA D2 and then dominated there, and then went to D1 and dominated there. And then now you guys are going to NCAA D2. So what are your team officers or coaches kind of enforced to propel you guys to that spot to get that opportunity, like winning a championship or moving to D2?
Yeah, so for us, we're not really like a lot of club teams in the MCLA, as our not only does our coach, but our school also treated us like we were already an NCAA program. So, we practiced more than most teams. So our fall ball consisted of, it was like, I think 10, 12 weeks. We practiced 3 hours or 3 times a week for 2-hour time slots. And then we also had lifts 3 times a week. So we were getting a lot of stuff done, and we were treating our program like an NCAA program, which I think did, kind of propel us to have a good season and good outcomes in all 3 seasons Cade and I have been here. From our freshman to junior year last year, we had each season we improved, as we got better recruits and as we continue to build our core culture of our team, and really treating us as an NCAA program, even though we were an MCLA program. I think it really helped us. I mean, you look at Texas, the tournament, the way it worked out, we played 2 games, a day off, and then 2 more games. And I really think a real good reason why we were able to be so successful was just our conditioning. We practice more than a lot of the teams out there in the MCLA. So the fact that the back-to-back schedule really played into our hands is just because I think we were a lot better conditioned. And that just comes from treating ourselves like an NCAA program and really working hard in practice and frequently.
Yeah, we're actually, believe it or not, our fall ball is shorter, and the time we have to practice is shorter too. So kind of right now we got our first 3 weeks are 8-hour weeks, and our last 3 weeks are 8-hour weeks. So it's, what is it, hour 30 practice?
Yeah.
So hour 30 practice for 2 days, and then a 2-hour practice. So we're practicing kind of the same, 3 days a week. And then when we get into our 6 weeks of fall ball, it's 4 days, but we get less time to practice. And then when it's spring, it's kind of the same thing. So there's not going to be really a tough transition there.
So was I know you had fall ball workouts. Were those mandatory?
Yeah.
And then did you continue that into the season, or was that kind of for people who wanted to be on top of that themselves?
For lifts?
Yeah. Did you have mandatory lifts as well in the regular season?
I stayed 3 days a week, and then the practices on those days weren't as intensive. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday we lift, and then the Tuesday, Thursdays would be harder practices, like more running based, conditioning based, and our Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be more like concepts, and then running through all the stuff we need to do to prep for a game.
Yeah, I definitely was not a part of that process at Oregon. Brian, were you doing that?
We had our own specific workouts. I know my senior year, I led in the fall. I led a couple of guys to do like 5 a.m. workouts. But we definitely didn't practice that much, which is Honestly, I feel like I'm starting to sweat thinking about how much you guys do that. Just because I'm so curious, like, how did you guys have any trouble adapting from going to high school and then having such a busy schedule like that, having to go to all of those workouts and practices and classes and trying to start a new social life? Like, how were you guys able to balance all of those things?
I mean, we kind of got fortunate with COVID for online classes freshman year. So basically, I personally, I only felt like I was an athlete at that time because I would roll out of bed, turn on Zoom, and then I'd go to practice. So, I mean, it was kind of easy transition. Once we kind of got back into going to classes, it was a little rough, but overall, it was not too bad of an experience.
Yeah, for me too. I think my high school was a little bit, I would say, more intensive, just because I mean, obviously not during fall ball. We didn't really have too much fall ball, but during season, I mean, my freshman year, I'd show up because I couldn't drive, so I'd have to carpool with one of my teachers, and so I'd get there. I'd have to leave my house at 5, and I wouldn't get back till 11 because we'd have 3-hour practices in high school, and then we'd have an hour lift. So I feel like, and plus I had 7 academic classes in high school. You know how high school is. They jam pack your schedule and fill it full, where here at college you have more of the liberty to kind of spread your schedule around, which has been nice. If you don't want to have class on Fridays, you don't have to have class on Fridays. So that's definitely something that's nice about college. And I feel like the opportunities they give us here at school to really like plan your own schedule out, which they do at every other university, kind of helps us to really dictate how our schedules want to be and how tough we want those schedules to be, which makes it nice as far as fitting practice times and lift times and other mandatory team event times into our student lives as well.
Man, you guys are just built different. That's just
Jake, so you're telling me freshman year to senior year in high school, you were going 5 a.m. to 11, or maybe that's just freshman year.
That was freshman and sophomore year because I was young birthday August 2nd, so I couldn't drive my first 2 years. Once I could drive, I could go back home, but my high school was like 45 minutes away from home, so my mom was not gonna drive and drop me off 4 or 5 different times throughout the day, so kind of just sucked it up and stayed there all day.
Sure. Man, that's crazy though. Jeez. So how was the switch going from MCLA to NCAA addressed your team? Like, were you guys made aware of this before or after the season started? And did you guys have any sort of say in that, or was you guys just going forward with it?
A lot of us, I feel like from my recruiting, like the 2020 recruiting class on, was aware that, hey, before you graduate, this team is going to be an NCAA Division II team. So I kind of came and recruited with the, mention of, hey, like, we're going to be a Division II program in the coming years. So I was like, okay, like I kind of expected it. So I was like, okay, that's sweet. I could get, I could play some club and then I could play some Division II, like kind of a, cool thing to do, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess so everybody was kind of made aware that it was like a sure thing. Like,
yeah, there was rumors circulating since our freshman year, like, oh, it's gonna be next year, So we weren't really sure when it was gonna happen, but the rumors were definitely circulating about that it was going to happen.
Could you feel like the school kind of pushing for it?
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely one of the more popular sports on our campus, and our campus faculty really, appreciates our program and really sees the value that we bring to this campus. And so they were really pushing for us to, get to that next level. Plus, some of our other programs were looking to bump up too. So with us, I think it's our cheer and stunt team got bumped up to Division II, and then was there one other program? Was that it?
That's it.
That's it. But yeah, so they're looking to bump, because we have a few other club programs at our school, but they're trying to bump everyone up in our school to NC Division II, because we are a pretty athlete heavy campus. Like I said, we only have 1,200 students, and I think 600 of us are student athletes. So it's pretty athlete.
Yeah, right on. That's sweet.
Yeah, no, having support from the school, it's so beneficial, and that must be such a good feeling that like they want you guys to be competing with like the best, but also getting the best benefits for moving up too.
No, yeah, and that's definitely something we got to shout out to all of our alumni who worked super hard to just even get a program started here. When they first started, I don't even know if they had enough guys to really create a roster, create a team. They just kind of were pulling dudes out of the woodworks, and through all their hard work and through their sacrifice, they were really able to start a program here that's really taken off over these last 10 years, 12 years that it's been started. So it's been really great to see just how, this program really has grown. And it's all thanks to those guys who, took the initiative to really start something out here on the West Coast.
Yeah, I was looking at an article from, I think, Lax All Stars. I'm sure this was probably written by MCLA guys or the Varsity Club Lacrosse guys. But it said that this is maybe a lie, but it said there was 20 people on the team the first year, and that they really struggled. But that second year was really where it started to take off. So I just think it's really great progression to see your guys' team go from, there's not many teams that go from D2 to D1 in that quick of a time, and then also winning both of those championships. So I think you guys and your alumni and your whole program should be really proud of yourselves, because I mean, like, I was at Oregon for 5 years and we got to the nationals once. So I think you guys should really, tip of the hat to you guys for sure. I think that's really awesome for you guys.
Thank you.
Did you guys see a big difference between playing in high school compared to playing in the MCLA?
For me, it was probably just depth overall. Like, obviously you got grown men out there, and you got, in some cases, like 30-year-olds. You're like, this guy has a full grown beard. I'm, a freshman in college. Like, what's going on here? And for me, it was just the speed of the game. And what I loved was you don't have to get a touch in the box. That was a big thing. I was like, for the first year, I was like, I don't have to get a touch in the box. This is weird. I'm just running around. And then the shot clock is so much better.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Shot clock is definitely something that I think a lot of high school players should look forward to. It really speeds up the game, something I enjoy.
Yeah, can't hold on the ball forever. I also like that. So what are you guys most looking forward to for NCAA D2? And then what's the most heartbreaking part about leaving the MCLA?
The best thing I'm looking forward to is just the competition, to see where we stand. We kind of got a lot to prove for all the club teams, see where a reigning MCLA national champion stands in NCAA Division II. And we got a stacked schedule, a pretty good conference with, pretty competitive teams that have made it to the NCAA tournament before. So got a lot to prove. And what was the second question?
Most heartbreaking part. I'm trying to emphasize, heartbreaking leaving the MCLA. It's such a great league.
I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, it's hard to be heartbroken after a win like that.
That's very true.
It's kind of just a mic drop, but I'm just definitely going to miss all the different, variety of teams, and just I spent 3 years of playing the same guys. Like, it's been a blast. Competition's been really good, and just going to be a different feel.
Yeah, definitely be a bummer that we can't, come back and try to defend our national championship. But like Cade said, it's kind of also something good, like a mic drop. Don't have to really worry about coming back to defend it, and living up to all the hype that we had last season. But as far as going into NC Division II, like Cade said, I'm just really excited to see where our team stacks up against all these different teams. I think we have the talent to compete at this next level. It just really comes down to the depth. We watch a lot of Division II games, Division I, Division III. And when we're watching these games, a lot of these teams, a lot of the things that you realize when you watch these teams is the depth. I mean, we're watching the Division II national championship, and I couldn't even tell the difference between their first, second, and third line middies. Like, they're all just nasty, they're raw. And so that's going to be definitely something that, is going to be our focus this season, as well as in the coming years, is really making sure that, we can compete with these guys, even if we might not have the deepest depth to start out, but that our conditioning is where it needs to be, so that we can still have the legs to run with these guys and really compete and show them what, the MCLA is all about. Cause it's not just, it's a, justifiable league. We got talent from all over the place. We big name schools, you got athletes that are coming from all over the place, and maybe they don't want to go to some Division I school, and maybe they don't want to, be locked into practice and rigorous practice. They just want to go out there and play, but these guys still have talent. So it's going to be really interesting to see, how we fare against all these other Division II programs.
Hey, Caden, you were saying you're excited about competitive conference. I'm curious to see what that looks like. I feel like there's not a lot of teams on the West Coast that have any NCAA teams.
Mm-hmm.
So who would you be playing, and what's the makeup of that conference?
The RMAC is Colorado Mesa. It's Westminster. I mean, those are kind of the teams that go back and forth each year. And, Colorado Mesa is a pretty proven program. Westminster is always competing. going back and forth with them. And then you have, what is it, Adams State, what else is it? Pueblo, and
us.
and then us, yeah, and then Dominican's going to be end up going there in 2024. But I mean, I think that's going to end up being a pretty big conference. Maybe not for the smaller, Colorado schools, but I feel like it's going to start to pick up on the West Coast. Dominican's probably going to get some studs in the future, and it's going to be, an automatic bid into the national championship.
Solid.
Now, guys, what are some of your favorite moments that you've had playing for Concordia? Whether it just being like going out with the boys and team dinners or traveling, just give us a couple of your favorite moments.
I would definitely say, we had some big wins, like when we beat Chapman for the first time. That was, something that was really fun. And then also playing, and, we got to play in Cal's football stadium, which I don't know if you guys have experienced that. I don't know where you guys, Purdue or Oregon, where your games are held, but playing in a stadium that big, even though it wasn't full, it was something that was surreal. The music was going, they had their band there. It was something that was really memorable. But I mean, honestly, for me, the best part that I can remember was we used to van. So we used to travel in vans, like the little Sprinter vans everywhere our freshman year.
Yeah.
And we would go to like Arizona, we drove out to Utah, and those are like anywhere from 6 to like 14-hour drives. And just being in that close contact with all the guys, you really got to, bond and create some pretty cool memories with some of the guys. And that's something I definitely will cherish for probably the rest of my life.
Yeah, no more vans. I'm going to miss that. Buses.
When I went and played Cal my junior year, they had us play. I'm pretty sure they play mostly all of their games inside that stadium. And then they had the band and everything. And it's awesome. And when I went there and played, we played on like some side field, and it was like the most sad thing ever. Like, you guys really did this to us. And so I'm not the biggest Cal fan after that.
Yeah.
Also, though, I think the busing is like the best experience possible. Traveling with the team is like one of the coolest things ever. Because obviously, again, I haven't been in another league, but I think all teams across the MCLA kind of have the same stories with. I think there's an account on Twitter about busing or something, and so I'll see those tweets every now and then. But it's like, yeah, I've definitely been through this exact same thing. So it's just so funny. The league is basically just everyone's going through the same moments, and busing and traveling is like one of the best parts. I totally agree.
No, yeah, you got your freshman karaoke. You guys.
Yeah. Wait, you're telling me you guys didn't join in that after
Yeah.
freshman year? I was in that every year. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we almost started a little bit of karaoke on the plane ride back from Texas, but they wouldn't let us. Yeah.
That would have been horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, I don't know if you have any more questions, but I got a last question, unless you got some other ones.
All you, man.
Beautiful. And then this is per Brian. I was going to have a different final question, but he is correct. We should have the same one for every single time. So what advice do you guys have for high school lacrosse players thinking about playing in college?
I would say just, for me personally, just kind of going as a blank slate, as a sponge, go to absorb, unless you're probably a top 5 recruit, I wouldn't expect to get much playing time. I would go in there and say, hey, I have something to prove. I have to, start here and then build up to here. So don't go in saying you're going to do this, saying you're going to do that. Typically those kids are not liked by, the team. Just, have a brotherhood, be part of a brotherhood, get in there, work, and just try to make yourself a name.
Yeah, I'd also say to really keep your options open, right? Like I said, I never even heard about this school, and I'm having the best time of my life. So really just keeping your options open and knowing what you want. If you want that grind, if you don't, if you want to really earn your spot and you want to go somewhere, maybe you're from California, you don't care about the cold, or you think you don't care about the cold, and you want to go back somewhere back east, or, where it's colder, really know what you're getting into. Because, a lot of guys associate like success in the game with that tag, with that NCAA Division I, with the NCAA Division II, Division III, and then they, kind of put MCLA at the bottom. But I mean, that's really not what it's all about, right? You can go to a NCAA Division I program and not win a game, right? Or you could come create something like the two of us have here at Concordia in the MCLA, help to lead a program with the help of all of our brothers and all of our teammates to something that's to a national championship. And I've kind of preached this with some of my buddies on the team, and to other friends who, you know, are playing at different colleges, like a national championship, you know, there's different levels to obviously where, you know, you got your Division I, Division II, Division III, but this is something that no one else will ever be able to take away from me, you know, when it comes to November and we go to that rally and we get those, you know, team rings throughout the years and the rest of the years of my life. And when we come and have our, you know, our yearly reunions and we're still, you know, have those rings and cherishing all these memories, you can't take that away. So it's really finding a home and not just going for the title, but finding somewhere where you can really excel no matter what the level is.
I think the misconception with club lacrosse is that talent level. And like you guys have been saying, this is a perfect example because you guys are coming off national championships going D2. That, you know, there's talent everywhere in club lacrosse. You know, even at those teams who are winning 2, 3, 4 games, there's going to be 1 or 2 kids that are really good at lacrosse. And, you know, there's talent all over the place. You can go anywhere in the country basically and find an MCLA team that can give you a good run for your money. And also the beautiful thing about club lacrosse is you really never know what's going to happen, whether that's with kids recruiting. Some kids come in and you're like, this kid sucks. And then he turns out to be a starter for you guys. Or, you know, just in a game, you know, that BYU game you were talking about, you know, anything could truly happen in those last final minutes. So absolutely.
No, yeah, it's kind of like I don't know if you guys watched the Colorado Buffs game with Shadur Sanders, like you said,
Oh yeah,
conference meeting, you know, transitioning from the FCS to the FBS, like you can't disrespect the FCS. You know, they got talent there. It's just the depth, and that's I feel like the same thing with the MCLA. You got your studs that could go play and really contribute to a good Division I, good Division II, Division III program. It's just how many of them are out there on the field, and that's kind of the thing with club is you don't know. You could go play a team, you could be like, oh, these guys, they're not going to be any good, and then, you know, 2 or 3 guys surprise the heck out of you, and all of a sudden you're down by 5-6 points. So it's definitely something that is interesting about the MCLA is you never know. And like with our program this year, we were able to, you know, recruit a really good class and a really good, you know, solid core group of guys, and we were able to, you know, go all the way to the, you know, the finals and come out with a dub, which was really cool to see. But yeah, you can't disrespect the talent in the MCLA for that. That's for sure. There's definitely talent here, as there is in every level.
Damn straight.
Concordia is going prime time like Deion Sanders. Oh,
prime time. Yeah.
No, that's great advice, guys. Do you have any last minute shout outs you want to do?
I mean, just thanks for having us on, just getting our little, you know, side of the story, getting our scoop on, you know, the transition, our championship. Just thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate, you know, get our story out there. I also want to, you know, give a shout out to my parents and my sister back home for really, you know, helping support me through this. You know, they've really been the financial backing for this as well as the emotional backing, you know, throughout the years, been different, you know, trials and tribulations throughout the years. So they've really been a great support for me. And I want to just, you know, take the time to thank them for helping me on my journey.
For sure. Well, now you guys got to go put on for the MCLA. You know, like you said, you can't let us down. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, no way. No way.
Come on. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys being on here as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, congrats, guys.
Thanks. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, guys, that concludes our interview with Jake Cloutier and Cade Poe. They are some really, really cool guys. So many accolades, but congrats to them on going to the NCAA. Really excited to see where they end up this season.
Yeah, I just felt like those accolades really never stopped. I mean, it's super impressive for those guys and for their team, and I'm sure other guys have those same accolades. But that is really impressive for them. They got a really nice resume.
All right, and now for our final segment for this week, it's going to be the MCLA Top 25. All right, Sam, take away.
And this is for D1. And then next week, I think we'll probably do D2, D3. But also...
Or who knows? Fuck it.
I'm sure, yeah, right. We might not. Also, I'm just not very well-versed in D2 and D3, so it might be a little bit more of a challenge and a more of a guessing game.
Yep. I'm not well-versed, period.
Yeah. It's too good. But I think, you know, it's club lacrosse is a lot of guessing. You don't know what a team's going to look like a year from now. So this is going off of the poll, but I'm switching a few things up here. Number one, I earlier did have Concordia Irvine, but Brian did let me know that they will not be here next year. So if they were, I'd have them number one, but they're definitely not.
As we just did an interview with them,
Yeah.
congratulating them to going to the NCAA D2.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
But,
this is after I'd have written
hey,
everything, so I should have known that.
Number one in our hearts, okay?
Yeah, for sure. But number one, we're going with Virginia Tech. I think there's not really any room to argue with that. They were going from number 1, 2, 3, whatever it was last year, and being runner up at the championships last year. Can't really put anyone else up there. And then for number 2, you got something?
I was just gonna say, go Hokies. I grew
Yeah.
up in the Northern Virginia area. Thought about going to Virginia Tech. It's a great school. Yeah, fun to see their Enter the Sandman tradition for football. It's really awesome. I don't know if Virginia Tech has ever been able to Virginia Tech lacrosse has ever been able to play in that stadium, but I feel like that'd be really awesome for them if they were one day able to.
Yeah, that Enter the Sandman is absolutely electric. I've seen some videos on that. And Oregon's got shout and whatnot, but that is absolutely sweet.
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah. And then number 2, I feel like this is a team who's kind of been disrespected, even though they've been top 5 the last 2 years. I almost said Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech. I think, they've been playing some of the best club lacrosse in the past couple of years. Their coach has been there forever. And I think that a lot of people just put them a little lower just because they feel like they've maybe been there for a while or whatnot. So I'm putting them at number 2. And then I got number 3. I got Chapman. Chapman is a really good team. They're really good every single year. They have a really good coach for a while. Now they got a new really good coach. So can never sleep on Chapman. And then number 4, I'm just going to say not a fan of this team in any sort of the sense. I got Liberty. I played Liberty my junior year and they were fine. They, they weren't assholes, but they're coming from that NCAA background basically, and they hate gay people, and it's whatever. So
Yeah.
that is what it is, but they are a very good lacrosse team. Cannot discount that. And then we've got number 5. We've got BYU. They are also one of those.
Speaking of hating gay people,
I know. I
guess
just feel like I
was
couldn't go back to back.
back to back.
Felt like
Jesus.
could have been too much, but
Wow.
yeah. So we got BYU in there. They're one of those teams who's perennial top 5, top 10. Always a really good team. They got a bunch of 30-year-olds holding it down. So shout out them. Then number 6, I got Boston College. You never really know where they're going to be, but I feel like they're always in that top 10. And last year, I think they had a really good outing, so I got them at 6. Then 7, this is where it gets tricky. 7, I got Utah Valley. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if they're as good as their record showed last year. But they're always, again, really good team, and they got the Wave kid as an alumni or something. So I think that was a really cool moment for the MCLA, but they're also a very good team. And then 8, South Carolina, they are probably one of the best teams in the MCLA for the last 3 years, but their record was so bad last year, but that's also because they're playing some of the best teams in the MCLA. So got to give them a little bit of credit. I would put them higher if their record was not so bad last year. And then at 9, a little different from the MCLA poll, I got Georgia. And, Georgia, this is, I feel like, their first time in the top 25 in a long time. So I'm putting them at 9 because they had like a 12-1 record or something like that. And they were beating a lot of good teams. So I will give them credit for that. Just not sure where they're going to go from here. 10, we've got Northeastern. I think that's one of those Northeast schools who haven't really gotten a lot of the spotlight. But I think this last year, especially Varsity Club Lacrosse was putting them out there, especially with like tweets and whatnot. Loved seeing their dogs and their I think it's probably a player running their Twitter page, and those are my favorite Twitter pages to go to. So that maybe bumped them up a little bit. Also, I will say Virginia Tech has the best Club Lacrosse Twitter page. If you need to go see some good content, go check that out during their games. It is so awesome. And then I got number 11.
I'm glad. One, it's called X. I don't know if we're supposed to say that anymore.
I still have Twitter. I still have Twitter on my phone.
Right. Me too. But I mean, having the bias just based on Twitter accounts, interesting
It might bump you up.
analysis there.
It might bump you up a little bit. 11, I've got Simon Fraser. Shout out to PNCLL. Last year, I think they went undefeated the whole year. Maybe they lost a game, but I think they went undefeated, which is, until they hit the nationals. But that's a very, rewarding thing. Like, not a lot of teams get to go undefeated throughout regular season and conference. So shout out to them. They've always been a really good team. Those Canadians, they don't use both hands. They only go one way, but they're still going to beat you. They got a lot of gritty guys on that team. A lot of mullets too, which you love to see. 12, I've got a mullet guy.
I am a converted mullet guy.
Converted.
After I'm done filming this movie, who knows? I might have to trim the sides.
There you go. Yeah, I think I rocked a mullet maybe all 4 or 5 years that I was in college, just in different points, but big mullet guy over here as well. 12, Florida, might be a little lower than people thought. I'm not very high on Florida. I think they kind of came out of nowhere the last couple of years, which is great for them. They've been playing some good lacrosse, but I think I need one more year of really good lacrosse from them to think that they're top 10 and beyond. And then right behind them, I've got Florida State. So a good little rivalry there. I think Florida State started off the season, they were number 1 or whatever a couple of weeks, but then they really dropped off. And one of my best friends from Oregon went and played grad school at Florida State. So that was cool to kind of follow them throughout their year. And then 14, a lot of people might be mad, but I got Oregon. Say what you want to say about Oregon, but they're a good ass team. They got some absolute dogs. Yeah, what you got?
Bias.
What you got? Bias. Absolutely. I'm throwing my boys up there. They were at like 22 or something, and I think that's so brutal for them. I think 4 of their 5 losses were overtime or by 1 loss, and they were all to ranked teams. So not going to say anymore, but go Ducks. 15, we got Cal. Again, not a huge Cal guy, but they are very good at lacrosse. I think last year was a down year, and it was a very good year for a lot of MCLA teams if they had that record. So Cal's always producing. They got good players. They've got really good facilities there. Like we were saying, I think they play at that stadium every single game, which is so awesome. I wish a lot of other teams had that ability, and then to have that band, it can't get much better than that. Then right below them, I got Cal Poly. They had a really good season last year as well, maybe even a down year for them. But they're always a really good team. They've got a good coach. I don't really have much more to say about them. Colorado, also very good team every year. I feel like they get a lot of NCAA transfers because a lot of people like Colorado and they like skiing and snowboarding. It's a good school. So they have always got some really good talent. And I feel like last year as well, down year for them, but still a really good season. Then we've got Arizona State. I'm not really sure where these guys should go. They had up and down year last year. They lost to some teams that maybe they shouldn't have. They beat some teams that maybe they shouldn't have. So not sure where to put them, but I think 18 is pretty good for now. 19, the last like 8 or 9, you could do whatever you want. But I'm going to throw Texas at 19. I think, again, with having a PLL coach who knows what he's talking about, helps out your program, bring some of those players that want to play for a PLL coach over. And then also they've just got a really good program. They got some sweet gear. So I'm a Texas fan, maybe rooting for them to say the least. 20, we've got UCSB, and also one of those teams that kind of came out of nowhere last year. I've got them at 20 because it's also one of those, would like to see them, have another good year to throw them up a little higher. So I'm not too sure about them. And then 21 maybe is low for Arizona. But they're always a good team. They fight hard. They're gritty. They got a really good coach too, who's involved with the MCLA a lot. Matt Blamey is going to be my first coach shout out today. That's really the only coach I can remember because I see him on Twitter a lot, posting stuff. And it seems like he's a really good guy. So Arizona at 21. Then 22, got another PNCL team at Boise State. I'm going to throw this out there. That might be the grittiest team I've ever played against every single year. They got those boys hucking hay bales and whatnot. So they're definitely getting in the mud and grinded those games out, and they're a good team. And then 23, San Diego State. They had a crazy year last year where they were beating some really good teams. But again, I played them my super senior year or my senior year, whatever it was, and they just weren't that great. And then it felt like the year after they just shot out of the rocket. So another one of those, see what happens. And then 24, Michigan State. They were champions 2018, and then I feel like every year they've been falling off, but they're coming back this year. So would love to see another good Spartan year. And then 25, had a few options to throw in here. Like I could have thrown Auburn, LSU, some of those other teams, but I've got Southern Methodist University. I think they had a few good games that they won last year. Pretty good record. And then also there is, I think it might be their manager, but she like tweets, she like replies to every single varsity club lacrosse thing. Not every single, obviously, but she's in there doing the Lord's work for that team. So appreciate them doing that. But that is my top 25. I think this list really doesn't matter until week 4 or 5, once teams have really started to play some games. But there's really nothing else to go off of. So this is what I've got. And this is from my knowledge playing and watching this last year. So if you don't agree, send your own top 25. Let's see what it is. And we can debate that for sure. But Brian, you got anything to say here?
Yeah, I gotta say, I feel like one team to look out for is Missouri.
Okay. I thought you were going to say a different team, but okay. Missouri.
Oh, Purdue? Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they should have been number 1 on this list.
Yeah,
but
I thought about it, but
I just, as a true analyst, I don't have bias. So
sure.
I'm going to say Missouri was really good last year, and I think that they can continue to shock more people this upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of teams, like, that's so awesome about club lacrosse is you truly don't know what's going to happen. Like a lot of these teams, might look totally different from last year, might be way better, they might be way worse. And Missouri and a lot of those teams have the opportunity to keep grinding up. And I absolutely love that for teams. Love to see them doing good. That's all I got.
Yeah, nice. All right, so that's all for this episode of the Varsity Club Lacrosse Podcast. If you guys want us to answer any questions, you can email us at varsityclublacrossepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer them later. Make sure to tune in next time for more exciting content about the world of club lacrosse. You can follow us on Instagram at Sam_Chris Scola and at Brian Plunkett Lopez. Thank you for listening, and please like, share, and subscribe. I sound like such an influencer. Oh, wow. But it does help. It helps a lot. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.